animation de un minuto y medio.
Dzień dobry Państwu, witam serdecznie na 60. Krakowskim Festiwalu Filmowym, który w tym roku odbywa się online. Jest mi niezmiernie miło powitać tutaj z nami naszych gości szczególnych. Za chwilę odbędzie się pierwsze spotkanie z reżyserami filmów prezentowanych w konkursie krótkometrażowym. Witam Cię, Dagmaro, bardzo fajnie, że jesteś i że tutaj będziesz przepytywać naszych twórców. Welcome everybody at the 60th Krakow Film Festival. Great to have you here at this online live streaming, and I hope that you will have a good conversation with Dagmara. And I hope also that you will join us for the festival, even that it is online. Still you have access to films and to other events that which are streamed for whole the world. Yes, so have a good meeting and see you somewhere around. Bye bye.
Bye bye. Thank you, Basia, for the welcoming. So guys, this is like the first screening of short film competition, and welcome all of the audiences who are there. Please do remember that the meeting is mostly for you, and ask the questions throughout, write on Facebook and YouTube, and I will pass your questions to our guests. And I would like to, because we have like a really wide range of countries and filmmakers today. So perhaps I will start from the left, perhaps, of what I see. It's quite strange how it all works. So Gleb Osiatyński, the director of the film The Father. Hi. New York. Hi.
Hello.
Then we have Alex Alexei from Russia, the Golden Buttons. Hi.
Hello.
Then we have Patrick Smith. Hi, Patrick.
Hi.
New York, and the film Beyond No. Hello.
Hello.
Then we have guests from Spain, David Valero Simon, the director of the film Los Bengalas, and David was joined us immediately by Julian Garcia, one of the actors of the film. Hi, great to have you. Hello. And who's there? There is Wouter, is that right pronunciation? Wouter Sal. Ghost Eye, our little gloomy animation there. And last but not least, there is Daniel Dencik from Copenhagen, the Butler. So yeah, Denmark, Belgium, the States, Russia, Spain, so the whole world. And please, the viewers, remember about the questions. I hope you enjoyed the screening, and I will kick off the conversation, and I'll be checking if there are questions. But my first would be how your project started. This is a very different set of films because we have animations, we have documentaries, and we have fiction. But every project has to have a beginning, and this is what I would like you to tell us a little bit about how it all started. What was the kicking point? What was the inspiration? Gleb, perhaps with you, if we could start.
Hey, sure. Thank you for having me, Dagmara. This is really exciting to be at the Krakow Film Festival with my film. How did it start? Basically, it's a personal story, and it all started one day on the highway, actually. I was driving home, and then I received a phone call from my sister, and I was there in my car with my wife and the baby on the back seat. And my sister called me, and she said that my father has an emergency, and he's in a hospital. And I was 200 miles away, basically. I couldn't really make it. And there was a three-way call with the doctor, and the doctor asked me what should we do if his heart stops? And it was kind of a tough situation because I really couldn't do anything, and I just wanted to keep him alive and to do whatever needed to be done. And then I came to New York. He was alive, but he was in coma, and they basically said that they don't know if he can survive or he cannot. So I basically spent some time with him in the room for about a week, and for some reason I just had this feeling that he's there, he will come back. And I was sitting next to him, and I tried to listen to the music loud, some jazz music and other sorts of music. And then occasionally the doctor would show up and look at him and look at the equipment and this line that was pretty much not showing any signs of activity in the brain. And it was kind of that situation that one day I put the music on next to his ear, and I saw the spike on the screen, and then I ran to the doctor and I said that I saw something. And then he came back, there was no activity again. And then the day next after that, he came back. So, but there was a moment of right now he is also in a very bad state. He's still alive, but there was a moment when I just didn't know, and there was this moment of acceptance, the fact that everything goes and everything comes from where it starts, and we just need to live with the fact that this is it. And that's how this idea of the film came to my mind. I just wanted to reflect on sense of loss and responsibility of taking a chance and decision.
And just under 10 minutes, it's quite amazing to tell such a powerful story in such a short time. If I could pass the question perhaps to David and Julian, because your story is also about father, and it's a different type of a story. I mean, the approach is different, but I can see the underlining connection of father and son is perhaps a little bit similar to the father. So how Los Bengalos started?
¿Cómo empezó? Fue lo mismo la historia del padre, el hijo y tal.
Todo empezó con la escritura de un guión de largometraje donde el protagonista era una persona jubilada que cuidaba de su nieta y de su hijo discapacitado.
All began with another movie, a long movie, with a man that was on retire and
Que cuidaba de su nieta.
And he has a little daughter, and he cares her.
Él tocaba en un grupo de música.
He played in a group, in a band.
Y en un momento de la película él empieza a olvidar.
And in a moment of the movie, he began to forget all the words, all the sounds.
Y entonces me di cuenta de que una de las escenas me servía para un cortometraje.
Then I noticed that one of the scenes could be for a short movie, no, for another movie, but a short movie.
Entonces desarrollé Los Bengalas.
Then I was thinking in Los Bengalas, no? But the base, it was that, no? Another movie. An example of another movie.
And move on to a tournée around Spain. I will get back to that later, but now I'd like to pass on perhaps Alexei. This time it's not about father, it's a documentary about the son, I would say, about modern Russia, but from this perspective of this cadet National Guard school. How did it all start for you?
I started the project with inspiration from a Polish documentary school. The documentaries of Krzysztof Kieslowski and Marcel Lazinski have always amazed me with their conciseness and clarity of expression. Also inspired by the film of Sergei Laznitsa and new Polish director Piotr Stasik. The way they work with the form of the film is very interesting. Rosguard just appeared in Russia. This caused a natural discontent in society. I also completely disagree with the position of Russian Guard, but I try to comprehend this phenomenon. I tried in the film to understand these people. Why are they doing this, and what motivates them to aggression?
Mhm. Now perhaps I'd like to pass to Daniel about the Butler, another documentary and a very interesting character to be put in front of a camera, because we usually look at the winners and those who go for the gold, and you look at a guy who is there for other people to win. And this is not by accident. This is by his choice. This is an amazing character and story to film, and to find such a person and to perhaps make him show in front of a camera, because if he's the guy who wants to stay behind the line in a way, now he's the main character. So how the project started for you, and was it difficult to persuade him to come to the film as the main character?
Yeah, thank you, Dagmar, and thank you for having me at the Krakow Film Festival. I don't know really when the film started, actually. Probably with my birth, in some sense. I was born with an interest for bicycle races. I don't know really why. I was born with it, and also like ambition to tell stories, and it kind of just evolved through my lifetime. And some years ago, I was writing pieces for Danish magazines on, for instance, Tour de France. And then I met Christopher, the guy, the loser in my film. And we just kind of became friends. I mean, he was showing me poetry he was writing. And I'm a poet myself, so I liked that. And I liked the fact that he was kind of unknown in this circus. This circus is so focused on winning. And here is this man who just wants to lose. And I think that's how it started, through poetry. And the film is, in a way, it's about how do you transform reality into poetry and vice versa. Yeah, what was your other questions again? If he had any...
He wants to stay behind, and now you put him into the limelight, and he cannot be there in the background for others. He has to be for himself.
Yeah, it's true. It's very true. And I think those are actually the best characters for films, the ones who don't want to be filmed. I think so. That's my experience. When they don't want to be filmed, that's when it's interesting. That's where, the secret persons come out. So he was hesitating a lot, but I don't know. Our friendship made it, I guess.
Mm-hmm. And vote for you, perhaps, because there is the I would find the connection between, because Daniel mentions poetry as something, as the kicking point, and your project, if I'm not wrong, started with some literary fascination with literature. So yeah, if you could say a few words.
Yeah. First of all, thank you for having me here on the Krakow Film Festival as well. I'm very honored. Yeah, the link with poetry is indeed. I'm a big fan of Nick Cave and Bukowski, but also like David Bowie and all like the other punk stuff that's kind of gotten out of fashion in my eyes. And to get back to the beginning of the film, that certainly is an inspiration. I like reading and writing a lot and drawing a lot, of course. But getting back to the origin of the film, it's basically a story that I felt I don't get to watch often enough. So I'll just make it myself then. So I think it's the most basic way of starting a film. It's like, I would like to see this shit in theaters and it's not there. So let's make it ourselves and just, yeah, have some rock and roll and have some fun with it.
Yeah, you mentioned Bukowski, and this is kind of because while I was watching, I took some notes and I kind of wrote down Charles Bukowski ? And now you say that this is the thing. Last but not least, Patrick, another very unusual animation. 3,447 masks. I just wonder, was it? Why masks? Why did you take this challenge? What fascinated you? And collecting the whole stuff and going through the whole world, because there are masks like from Africa, Americas, Europe, China, or Asia, from all the cultural and religious backgrounds. Oh, we cannot hear you. Have you got your mic on?
Can you hear me now?
Now. Yes.
All right, well, thank you for the question. I've been studying masks for the last 2 decades. I've always been fascinated with masks, and the fascination, I think, begins with the fact that no one really looks at the history of humanity through masks. And it's a very effective way to look at humanity, both historically and in contemporary ways. So even right now, you know, with all the protests in America, there's a recognizable mask element, whether it's to hide your identity or to make a performance or to participate in some type of ritual. So I've always been fascinated. And that was the impetus for the film.
I would like to keep you about, you know, the challenges of the project, and because I'm really impressed with the number of the masks, and I also love the way that how you presented it, and I think I want to watch this film a couple of times just to catch everything that is there. I mean, the scope of the work you must have done, it needed those 20 years of the interest in the subject.
Yeah, well, for those of you who haven't seen it, it's basically a different mask for every frame of film for roughly 4 minutes. And so, you know, I had to photograph thousands of masks to get that. And that effect is, you know, I'm not the, go ahead.
Was it like you found each and every mask? Those are not graphics. Those are real masks that you have like somewhere in the museums or galleries or etc. Yes.
Yes, a majority of the masks were photographed from museums. Many were from stores, like costume stores. Many are from my personal collection and other people's personal collections that I traveled to. And a majority of the Japanese masks I photographed while I was studying in Japan. I lived part-time in Japan with my wife, and we were able to photograph master craftsmen's carver masks, which constitute probably about a quarter of the film.
What were the biggest challenges for your project? Was it the pace of the film, or getting the masks, or
the biggest problem, the biggest challenge was registration, and when it's just tedious as all fucking hell. You know, it's like you have to nudge each mask a pixel to line it up with the other one, and you have to do this, you know, hundreds and thousands of times, and it took the better part of a year staring at a computer and lining up these dumb masks with the other mask. And I'm so happy that part is over. I don't know if I can do it again.
It is so precise. I mean, like I can see the every pixel that you worked on that, and I wish we could see it like on a big screen, like with every film. But with these masks on a big screen, it must make a huge impression, even bigger than at a screen at home. Wouter, I would like to get back to you. And learn about your challenges. Animation is a process that you have to put a lot of energy and a lot of time, 4 minutes of the film and a year work on it. And your film is like 15 minutes or even 17. I would need to check the precise time, but 19. It was 19 minutes. So how long did it take? And was the time the biggest challenge, or something else?
The biggest challenge for us was we really wanted the film to keep as spontaneous as possible, so that it's more like as raw as possible. And that is also why we decided to kind of try and find a different visual language for every chapter in the film. And this was something that was for us quite exciting and quite challenging to do, but it also came around and really bit us up the ass, because we were, instead of like when you do an animation and you do the color frames and you do like all the pre-production work, you're free to sail to the end of the film and every character looks exactly the same in every scene. But in our concept of having these 4 design styles and 4 atmospheres in the film, really kept it fresh, but it also meant that you really need to keep paying attention during production and keep juggling like with animators and colorists just to keep everything together, because it was really floating apart. And it was quite painful, but at the same time it was really rewarding as well when it all came back together in the compositing and the editing. So that was like the biggest challenge, but also like a really rewarding part of the film.
So how big was the team working behind you or with you on the project?
So for the pre-production, like the writing and the storyboarding, I did together with Tess, my ex-colleague. We wrote and storyboarded the film by ourselves. And then we had a team of like 8 animators plus assistants for the production, and that went on for like 6 or 7 months. And then post-production was 3 people, including me, for the compositing. And then we had like an amazing sound studio doing all the original music, and that was so awesome to see those guys rocking it. And they also contribute the big deal to the atmosphere of the film, like with having the musical landscapes and having all the soundtrack there, really tied it together. So I count them as the team as well. So let's say at a certain point, I think like 30 or 40 people took part in this film.
And the result is amazing. It is like a very edgy animation. While I was watching it, I kind of thought about Bukowski that you mentioned, but also about films like Sin City in a way, or The Night on Earth, like by Jim Jarmusch, a very old film, kind of, all those crazy stories with some strong idea behind it. I would like to move on to who's perhaps Daniel and the Butler. What were the biggest challenges for you?
Biggest challenges was probably covering a race. Covering 200 kilometers is difficult. I mean, from a cinematic point of view, it's really, really tough with motorcycles and helicopters, and we are not a part of that whole television setup. We have to be our own film crew in the midst of that while a big competition is going on. So that was hard. But then luckily I'm portraying a loser, so he was not up there in the dangerous curves and the sprint. He was mainly, dragged down and doing his work in the background. So I felt that I was getting some material that you very, very rarely see in sport, like just the work, actually. And that's my theory, that bicycling is the most professional of all sports because it's really work. You paid this man, Christopher, to lose. I mean, he's equally good as the guys winning, but he's paid not to win. So, like from a philosophical point, I like that a lot. And then it was kind of difficult to understand how his poetry was going to be adapted into the movie. And then we got this idea that the poetry could actually carry the movie all the way through. So now it's built up through his poems, and that was difficult to find those right poems and making him read them, because he's not a poet, so he had to read them as a poet. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. And Alexei, for you, what was the biggest challenge? And because we will have to finish soon, if there is a question, please do come up. And Alexei, your biggest challenges?
We got permissions to shoot about 6 months. Is big challenges for us. The authorities through that we want to make a TV reporter, prepared everything for this, dressed the children in formal suits, showed how they know how to dance, but we want to shoot their real life and film it about 6 months. Once we shoot children before going to bed, they called their parents and ran only in their underpants, and the authorities decide that shooting this is unacceptable. Decide that the whole crew, whole film crew was pedophiles, and draw us away.
So it must have been a challenge.
We started post-production. How?
Yeah, so it must have been the challenge to be with the boys and with the authorities that were looking through everything that you were doing there. So great that you made it. There is a little thank you note for the Butler, I believe, from Piotr, for a great piece of cinema that came. No question, but just a thank you note came in the meanwhile. Perhaps David, and the biggest challenges of Los Bengalas, the singing or the crazy outfits?
Bueno, los bengalas, el cantar y todo esto, la película, Bueno, bueno, dile lo que buscabas si acaso con la película, los retos y qué querías decir, ¿no?
Lo que me interesaba mucho del Alzheimer era la primera fase.
What I try to say, especially is in the first part of the movie, is to see the illness of Alzheimer.
Porque es una fase donde la persona conecta con su niño interior.
The first phase it was when he connect with inside himself, no?
Y investigando descubrí que había un cantante americano con Alzheimer que recordaba las canciones del pasado.
And he was investigating that there was an American singer and he remembered the songs in the past.
Y quería que mi personaje siguiera conectado con la realidad, con esas canciones que él cantaba en el pasado.
And he wanted to connect these songs with the last past.
Y de hecho, quizá como anécdota, la canción del final se titula Resistiré.
Yeah, the last song that we sing in the film is Resistiré. Resistiré is I will resist.
Nosotros rodamos el corto en el 2018, en agosto del 2018.
We filmed this movie at the end of in August, the end of 2018.
Y esa canción se ha convertido ahora en España como un himno nacional con la crisis del coronavirus.
And this song now in Spain is the hymn of the COVID-19 in Spain. And I know that now in Sweden is the same because they have translated the song in Sweden and is the hymn, no, for the COVID.
Durante 2 meses los españoles salíamos a las 8 de la tarde a los balcones a cantar esta canción.
Pending 2 last months, all the Spanish people were at their houses at the closing and singing this song.
Well, that is something you couldn't expect to happen. There is one question from Michael to Patrick about how did you choose the masks?
I'm sorry, was that to me?
Yes. How did you choose the masks?
I started with the Japanese no theater masks because I personally consider them to be the finest masks ever created. And then from there, I actually just expanded out and I went to all the other Asian countries, and then I went to Africa. And then what I tried to do is I tried to trick the audience into thinking that they were just going to see a bunch of tribal masks. So then I rapidly went contemporary and hit them with Hello Kitty and Pokemon. And then I tried to hit all the deviant things like sex masks and protest masks and latex masks of Trump and Putin and all the other leaders in this ridiculous world. And then from there, I tried to just get it back to the no masks to end it. That's how I chose it. Thanks for the question.
Yeah, thank you, Michael, and thank you, Patrick. I think the Hello Kitty, when it comes in, it's quite surprising. And Gleb, for you, the biggest challenges of the father.
I mean, it was shot at the end of the first year in Columbia Film School, and I was shooting it with a small crew. We were trying to, make it a low budget and with my friends from Colombia, and we were shooting here in this house where I am right now. It's where the family lives. It was just a challenge to get it all done because we would try to do the rain. We tried to use the stuffed animal that looked like a real dog because the script actually had real dog jumping into the water. That's a lot of these images that are coming from my personal experience and my dog that actually passed away after the shoot. So I don't know how everything in this film somehow was very sort of spiritual for me too, and I was connected to every moment, and it felt. There was one moment when we made the rain machine, and it was cold water, and we had very maybe 1 or 2 takes because it was challenging to be in the forest with the water dripping on people, and there was a challenge with the fog. There was a lot of different, and there was a challenge with the neighbor that came and said that they were digging a hole in his territory and he was threatening us. So it was, every moment was really stressful for some reason, but somehow it all came together in the film, which is what I'm very thankful for.
Thank you so much, guys. Unfortunately, we have run out of time, so thank you very much for being. I think there are 2 more screenings of the blog. So if somebody hasn't seen that yet, there are 2 more days and dates for the screening. So please join us. During the festival, always there are meetings, in the corridors. This time it's not possible, but I guess if the viewers find you on Facebook and try to, you will be happy to hear what people think. So fingers crossed for your films. We'll see how the jury sees it, and I hope the films will go to other festivals as well. In an hour, or not even, at 7 o'clock, there is the official opening ceremony of the festival, so I hope you will join us. And once again, our guests were Gleb Osatyński, David Valero Simond, and Julian Garcia. Daniel
Thank you very much.
Wouter Sell, Patrick Smith, and Alexei Ekstingniev. Thank you so much for being. Thank you for your films. I wish we could talk more, but at least a little bit like this. And hope to see you in Krakow next year with your new films as well. Fingers crossed. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.